Salutations and welcome to Movie Central, the place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and theme park rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and this is my pet gorilla, George. So we've been through the first phase of the MCU once before. As I said in that video, the first phase of the MCU was mostly the biggest setup of all time. But there was one thing I didn't mention. This franchise was a huge risk. Sure, there were other Marvel movies like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but those had other companies backing them up. The 2003 Hulk movie had Universal. X-Men and the Fantastic Four had Fox. And Spider-Man had Sony. But this was not one of those projects. This was just Marvel by itself. Marvel Studios. And had Iron Man not been a success, we would have gotten the greatest superhero franchise of all time. And it's also worth mentioning that we could have gotten a totally different MCU had it been a different post-credit scene. But the head producers, Kevin Feige and Louis Despacito, decided otherwise, and we got the fantastic universe we know and love. Alright, enough with the history lesson. Back onto the review. After Iron Man 2, we needed two more solo films before we got to the big one, which was the Avengers. Both of these films were released in 2011, and both were also received really well. But does that mean they were good? Well, I'm going to figure that out today, because we're going to review the first of the 2011 Marvel films. This is Thor. As the son of Odin, played by Anthony Hopkins, or this guy, king of the Norse gods, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, will soon inherit the throne of Asgard from his aging father. However, on that day that he is to be crowned, Thor reacts with brutality when the god's enemies, the Frost Giants, enter the palace in violation of their treaty. As punishment, Odin banishes Thor to Earth. And he soon learns to make some friends. While Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, Thor's brother, plots mischief in Asgard, Thor, now stripped of his powers, faces his greatest threat. Okay, what are my thoughts on this entry into the other worlds of Marvel? Well, I gotta say, I was not impressed. Okay, go ahead and call me heartless, but I just don't think that this film really worked. The story starts out strong, but it goes downhill when Thor gets to Earth, and it gets very boring. And unlike the Incredible Hulk or Iron Man 2, the director didn't realize it was slow and continued to keep the pace until the very last minute of the main film. The post-credit scene is ironically the fastest scene in the film. How boring is that? Pretty freaking boring. I can't help but complain every 5 minutes in the middle and every 30 seconds in the last act. Kenneth Branagh, aka Gilderoy Lockhart in the Harry Potter franchise, made the same mistake with Artemis Fowl in 2020. But this film is an actual improvement over that piece of spy crap that James Bond wouldn't even touch. Whatever, I can't talk about a film without talking about the characters. First, there's Thor. Now, the MCU was the franchise that introduced me to Thor, but I love the character in the spectacular animated show, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And having seen Thor's stories in not just his films, but in the other films he has appeared in, like the Avengers films, I can gladly say that Thor is a complete and utter brat in this film. I'm serious. He's so bratty and whiny that it makes me long for Luke Skywalker's whining. And I don't put that lightly. However, by the end of the movie, he becomes a much more likable character that continues for the next 8 years. Odin, on the other hand, is a great character, and I like it when he curses out Thor to teach him a lesson. Although I will say he is being a big idiot by not putting his guards around him when he's doing his hibernation from the comics. Yeah, I know it has a name, folks, but I forget it all the time. The Warriors 3 are pretty good. My favorite of the group is Hogan. He's the most stern and the most warrior-like. Lady Sif is good too. I'd like to see a movie or show revolving around her and the Warriors 3. Alright, the character you want to hear about the most. Loki. Tom Hiddleston brilliantly portrays the god of mischief throughout the entirety of the film, and I'm glad that he has his own mark on the franchise. Hopefully that his TV show is amazing. So those are the Asgardians. Now it's time for Earth. Now we have Coulson from Iron Man and Iron Man 2, as well as Jasper Sitwell. These two are awesome. Since the Marvel one-shot, I always loved their relationship, as they truly act like friends. I'll evaluate on that in the next few episodes. We also get a cameo from Hawkeye. This character was introduced to me through Earth's Mightiest Heroes as well. He may not have much to do in this film, but don't worry, he will in the next film, which is the Avengers. What about the other characters? They must be very good, they all suck. No, seriously, they do. First, we have Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, Padme from Star Wars. I just despise this character. Why? Every line she gives sounds like Jessica Lange from King Kong 1976. This is some of the worst acting in the MCU and some of the worst acting, period. Kat Dennings as Darcy Lewis is just a stupid comic relief. She has nothing to the story, and she's just there for laughs. God damn it! Then we have Eric Selvig, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and he was fun to watch, as he actually tries to put on a performance, as opposed to that Jessica Lange wannabe and that circus monkey over the sides of him. Okay, I'm done yelling. How are the visuals? They're good, but they're not great. The Frost Giants kind of look like N64 graphics whenever they fight, and that giant gargoyle monster who appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout at Disneyland looks a little unconvincing too. The best visuals are the flying lightning techniques, Asgard itself, and the Destroyer. These are really great looking, and it makes me want to see or have them in real life. The music by Brian Tyler isn't memorable, but it sounds good when you listen to it. Now we have the action scenes. Again, they're not good. They're good, but not great. Thor pointlessly dies during the battle with the Destroyer, and that proves him worthy. Look, I get he needs to get his hammer back somehow, but you could have at least used a deleted scene where he saved Eric Selvig, which makes him look less like a whiny brat than he already is. But the scene was fun with that aside. I also enjoy the final skirmish between Loki and Thor, but the best action scene to me was when Thor tried to get his hammer back through that shield facility. It was by far the best scene of the film, and way better than the earlier and later action scenes. So, what's my final verdict? If you couldn't already tell, Thor is a mess! The story is boring, the characters are meh, the music is forgettable but okay, and the movie's saving graces are the visuals and action scenes. I say watch this one if you want to go through the franchise, but I'll just watch a recap rather than devoting my time to sitting through this 2-hour mess of a film. So for that, this movie gets a 5 out of 10. It could have been worthy, but it just wasn't. So that was Thor. What do you guys think of this movie? Please let me know in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe as it really helps me out. Tune in next week when I take a look at the second film in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. With that said, I'm Mr. CCS, this is Movie Central, and that, my friends, is a wrap. See you next week.